Welcome back to Trade Wars Live Video. Apologies in advance if there are any glitches in this broadcast. I'm sitting on my deck at my home in western Montana, and the internet is not always as good here as in my office. You may notice a little bit of haze in the background. We've got lots of smoke blowing in from the big fires in Oregon and Washington, including the devastating fires around Spokane. Uh, anyway, on to the news. Uh, Even as the U.S. and China prepare for Xi Jinping's visit next month to D.C. and sit down with Trump on September 24th, both sides are engaged in tit-for-tat trade actions against each other. A week and a half ago, the U.S. Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, announced new restrictions on, quote, advanced robotic devices and inverters, both areas where China is globally dominant. The FCC cited supply chain vulnerabilities in its announcement. Earlier, the FCC targeted Chinese drones, which, of course, China is a globally dominant producer and exporter as well, particularly through DJI, the Shenzhen-based drone manufacturer. The vast majority of commercial drones in the U.S. are Chinese-made. Last December, it said it would ban foreign-made drones, along with critical components for unmanned aircraft systems. Washington also just blacklisted 40 Chinese companies, citing their involvement in forced labor. Just yesterday, Bloomberg reported that Washington is also considering putting sanctions on China data center components, and in particular on optical transceivers, which China is globally dominant in. Chinese exports of optical transceivers to the U.S., however, have already dropped precipitously under Trump. So it's not a very significant market right now in the U.S. For all these measures, the U.S. is not only trying to deal with, as it says, supply chain vulnerabilities, but it's also hitting China potentially hardest, where China has experienced the most growth. Its primary growth driver, exports of advanced technology. Now, that's not expected to hurt China that much, however, as China has done a very good job from its perspective on diversifying its exports around the world, including its advanced technology exports. Yesterday, we heard some noise from Beijing that China's Commerce Ministry announced countermeasures. In particular, they announced tightened controls on drone exports to the U.S. So they're saying, okay, well, we'll make it more difficult on our side for you to get Chinese drones as well. The U.S. takes an action and says they don't want as many Chinese drones. China says, well, you can't have them anyway. It also put sanctions on 6 different U.S. entities. The ministry cited the U.S. decisions and the recent ban on advanced robotics and also on power inverters as one of the reasons for its countermeasures. In a commentary yesterday, the People's Daily, the official mouthpiece of the Chinese Communist Party, referred to recent U.S. actions as, quote, unilateral bullying. The People's Daily went on to say, the U.S. measures under the pretext of non-discrimination or national security are, in essence, discriminatory treatment and suppression targeting Chinese enterprises and products, the newspaper said. Despite all the noise and the various countermeasures, both sides seem to be holding back their most extreme fire in order to avoid derailing the summit next month. the Chinese government rather also announced that its latest actions, in its own perspective, were generally restrained, quote, generally restrained, and asked the U.S. to revoke its measures and both sides to continue consultations. So for now, we are still full speed ahead for the upcoming heads of state meeting in DC when Xi Jinping visits and sits down with Trump on September 24th. That's it for this week. Tune in at the same time next Thursday.